Jade Shadow's Constellations was not a bad update by any means, in my opinion, but it definitely has a lot of things that left me feeling really disappointed, not even including like the vast amount of bugs, because that kind of happens all the time. I don't think it's an excuse, but you know, Warframe has some kind of weird structural foundation that causes that to happen pretty frequently. I don't hold it against them too often. They usually get fixed pretty quickly. This video is going to take a look at a lot of the content of this update, list out some positives, but we're also going to be specifying and kind of zoning in on categories that had the biggest flaws in my opinion. And unfortunately, a lot of those flaws actually sit in the most forward-facing, marketed, advertised components, like Sirius and Orion, like the Railjack stuff, and the new PROTOFRAMES, blah, blah, blah. That to me was the most disappointing stuff, while the stuff like kind of on the outer ring of that was actually like pretty solid. And so I do have a list of positive stuff we're talking about too. I understand that this is my second negative video in a row. I love praising digital extremes in Warframe a lot. Like I don't write entire, like I've written like 5 entire Warframe reworks on this channel. I've done Warframe University and stuff. I don't do that just because I hate Warframe. I understand there's a huge problem with negative engagement baiting content. Like is a huge problem. I recognize that. But as someone who's very late in the game, and as someone who plays a lot of Warframe, and someone who's very passionate, like I need to express feelings when they are negative as much as I do when they are positive. That's me being a good consumer and relaying to digital extremes and getting, you know, facilitating a conversation about what we should be talking about when stuff happens, so that way it can go right more often than not. There's just a lack of meat in this update, and a lot of the meat that was present was pretty rotten. Not a huge fan of. This video is also going to kind of assume that you've played the quest and engaged with like some, if not most, of the content. Not all of it, of course, but like the majority of it. Especially when it comes to like spoilers or whatever. Not that there's much to really spoil. It feels like. Oh, I don't know how this slide keeps making it in here, guys. But you should like and sub if you want more of the content. Hype the video if you want. All that good stuff. I also outsourced a thumbnail for this video, so let me know what you think about that. It pops. I'm not a professional. I can't do everything at once. So I did outsource that. Let me know what you guys think about that. So, okay. This is the disclaimer slide you guys are gonna have to get really used to. What's presented here is my opinion. Constructive criticism is promoted. New ideas are awesome, encouraged. Don't be an asshole. That's the usual. I'm aware a lot of what I discuss here can be chalked up to kind of 3 main things, right? Technical limitations, rushed content, and this being a small update. I don't really care, to be honest. I don't have insider knowledge, and nor do I think I can provide any sufficient solutions to those problems. I'm not on DE's board or anything. I can't, like, there's no point in me bringing up those as problems if I can't solve them or provide constructive criticism that would amount to anything. Additionally, as I kind of explained earlier, this video might seem overly negative. Overall, I'm a DE glazer. I'm assuming not, like, DE's not going to see my bum-ass channel, and so I'm not going to put in, like, that much effort to be gentle. Additionally, a lot of the negative focus here is because DE has a pretty spotty track record regarding revisiting content. This means there's probably going to be some heavy bleeding that just never gets addressed here, along with like future positive content being tainted by the bleeding of past shortcomings. I'm going to provide an example. This patch, there were new astrograph mods. If you don't remember what those were what Foley had. These are awesome. I love these to death. These are for Ash's Augment, I believe Smoke Shadow, Seeking Shuriken, and for Garuda it's Blending Talons and Dread Ward. These are so cool. I want more of these. I love cosmetic mods. I love cosmetics. I think these are cool as shit. But last update, Shadowgrapher, whatever, Astrograph mods are inherently flawed. You can only sit there and farm Foley's game mode for like multiple hours straight in order to get all of these. One of these, maybe more multiple hours. That is bad. I don't know why that's the case. You should look into that, I think. Again, I absolutely adore Warframe. I make content for this game not because I want to sit there and engagement bait, but because I love it to death. So just please keep that in mind. I understand it can be kind of frustrating to have like 2 negative uploads in a row, but whatever. Table of contents, what we're discussing today. There is some positives that I want to kind of make a list of. This video is going to be longer, like fair warning. Also, this order was determined by the poll placements that I put like a couple days ago. I'm going to cover everything, but obviously there's an order here based on like how important these things are. So we're talking about positives again because I think there were quite a lot of them. We're talking about the proto-frames because that was voted highest. These were completely like meatless. They feel a little bit money grabby, lots of wasted potential, and long-term damage for proto-frames of the future. We're going to talk about Railjack missions. These seem to bait us into thinking this was an expansion of Railjack. It did not feel that way at all to me, but it seems like that might be coming in the future. The only problem is, like, I have to kind of grade the update as it is now, or that's, again, I'm being a dishonest consumer and not helping DE improve. Additionally, we're gonna kind of end off with story quest and lore stuff, which again interconnects a lot of the proto-frame stuff, waste potential, massive voids in story beats. No pun intended on that. The whole thing felt like a speed run, but we're gonna talk about that when we get there. So that's again positives, proto-frames, railjack missions, and then the story quest stuff. So the positives, and this isn't everything, but this is what I took note of that I thought was pretty cool. A big problem is that a lot of what isn't in like the main marketed parts of the update were actually awesome. Like the Nidus retouch, dude, it feels like DE is like the Grim Reaper, like pulling up to doors, and the doors are like some of the outdated frames, and they're just murking them over and over. Like I think in the next like year or two, maybe 3, there won't be a single bad frame in the game. Like quote unquote bad. I know. Oh Lord, I'm not gonna start the conversation on this video. New camera offset. Nidus absolutely is amazing and so much more fun to play. He's always been, in my opinion, one of the better designed characters, better designed Warframes, but actually modernizing him and making him function like a Warframe made in 2026 is super sick. The new camera offset setting doesn't affect me a bunch, but there are a few frames that I have that are kind of big boys where this is really helpful. Stynex Prime looks so killer. Love the Aphentis, Athadai, all the cosmetics, Prime Access stuff. Pretty cool. Stynex is a great frame, and his Prime rocks. Dante's Deluxe looks super, super sick. Love it to death. Really good design. New Arcanes. I think the new Arcanes are all pretty unique. I really think I'm probably going to make a video on Arcane Sculptor, to be honest. It's pretty broken. It's pretty interesting. I do have some problems with it. Like, okay, what is creating something? Like, what does that even mean, dude? But if it kind of like wriggle, like lets new ideas wriggle into the design space, and I'm fine with that. Particularly primary compression, the one that lowers your AoE and exchanges it for damage to a single target, I think is really interesting. I love it a lot. Most of the new Incarnants seem like a little niche at worst and pretty broken at best. Like, I'm pretty excited. The Ballistica seems really strong. The Obex is the one I think is the coolest, and the Vectus is the one I want to be the best, but it seems like I'm going to be let down a little bit based on the content I've watched so far. The augments that came out with the update, conceptually pretty neat, but some of the numbers and choices regarding them were totally boofed. I'm not going to yap about that, but it was unfortunate. Celestial Clash is one of the coolest abilities DE's ever coded. It's awesome. But I will also say that Sirius and Orion's 4, which is Celestial Clash, is genuinely the biggest psychological psyop performed by a video game company almost in history. I like that ability gaslit me and like a ton of the Warframe population into thinking that character was well designed. I have a whole other video on Sirius and Orion. You're not going to get much of that here. But Celestial Clash is one of the coolest things ever, but it really did blind me to like this frame's kit is not good in my opinion. Not fun to play, not well designed in my opinion. Good is neither here nor there, but poorly designed for sure. A lot of the aesthetics of the update, which I think they outsourced a lot of their art stuff, like if I'm not correct, it looks great. Looks really good. But there just isn't enough of it. And a lot of the design stuff, like in terms of like actual playing the game, is not very good. But like using my eyes to look, pretty fun. I think the hidden Signa stuff was cool as shit. And I think that the store for the new currency with the RAILJACK stuff the store was very good. I just wish like the hidden Signa mechanics, not really Garuda's. I think Garuda's was pretty boring. You just hit buttons. But like I think Ashes of like running through the map and shooting little targets was like honestly dope as shit. And I really liked it. And I wish that was an actual thing, an actual mechanic that you did in the normal course of play instead of unlocking a cosmetic and then never doing it again. Or doing it for like an evergreen reward. I don't know, whatever. I just wish like this game was mildly more engaging or challenging. I don't know. I'd be annoying. Okay. Proto-frames and their effect on the game and story. This was voted highest by quite a significant margin, like 40%, and well, we're going to talk about it. So, these proto-frames have substantially less substance relative to the last releases. It feels like each wave of them just takes a step down in quality. There is like basically zero lore explanation, anything. I know I could be putting more effort into understanding, but like I don't think I should have to go through like Reddit and stuff to really understand what these proto-frames are about. I think that's pretty annoying. I wish the game would just kind of tell me, show me too, right? I'm no stranger to that, but like here there was just nothing. I'm going to try to keep these story quests and proto-frame problems as separate as I can, but obviously they share a lot of DNA, so just keep that in mind. I might repeat myself a few times. Additionally, I want to make something kind of abundantly clear about myself and my own perspective as a video game player, in case it is shared. This perspective is shared by anyone, and so you can understand kind of my approach. I do love story. I love when the characters I'm playing in the game have like real substance. I do care about Warframes beyond their abilities. I care about Warframe story, all of it, but not that much. Admittedly, While I agree with everyone saying that the proto-frames are problematic at this point because there's not getting released with any real meat at all, it's not why I play Warframe. I bought both of them. I fashioned both of them. Their designs are awesome. Love the aesthetic. When it comes to these proto-frames, the absence of story is not something I mourn, but the presence of like lore and meat and all that stuff is something I celebrate. So even though there isn't anything here, I would really love it if there was, but I'm not damaged so much by there not being as much. But I do love it. I love playing Leon or Amir. Those are two frames where I play the proto frame every time. Like, I love their personalities. I love why they are the way they are. I don't really care for the Kim system. I don't use it at all, but I still enjoy them because like on the surface there's enough to enjoy. Um, I don't know, in a more like realistic plane of existence, there's also some concerns about like platinum and money, right? Like these are just kind of worse. They're being treated like skins, which I guess they are. At the end of the day, they are. But I feel like it shouldn't be that way because they're 275 plat. That's quite a bit. That's more than a deluxe skin. The voice acting is pretty neat. I just think that a lot of this isn't really for me, but there were players that were concerned that these would kind of end up being kind of cash grabby. And this update made that fear feel incredibly validated. When for me, I was like, oh, it's not gonna be a huge issue. Like these released and there was not enough going on. Again, I don't care that much. I really don't. But that's a huge problem because I want good proto frames, right? Again, poorly done proto frame doesn't bother me. I bought them. Love their designs. I like more cosmetic options. But what I love is the well done protos. Like that's my that feel like a real breathing social creature, not a fucking Fortnite skin. Got a problem with that. One of my biggest problems, from my personal point of view, is that Warframes really have no personality. It makes Warframe a harder game to really get into, I think. People do resonate with characters in other games because of who they perceive that character to be. Think like Overwatch or whatever, right? People play Reinhardt and shit because they feel they want to feel that high testosterone old man with a fucking hammer, right? Like they feel that way. That is just like neutered in Warframe. It's like it's present. Like Rhino and Atlas have those vibes, but they're not real characters. I understand they actually aren't. It's not like I'm not like I'm being rude. It's more like, they're not characters. And in 1999, with Arthur and that, I'm like, oh, maybe they could be. And the problem with Ryoku and Vina here is that like the cat's out of the bag, dog. Like the cat's out of the metaphor. I guess both the cat and the bag are metaphorical. The metaphorical cat is out of the metaphorical bag. We've seen what a good proto frame looks like, and now we just can't go back. Like maybe there was a point where we could have released proto frames with like one 1 hour quest attached to them and then call it a day. But we saw what the hex were. Even the triad and the round table like were pretty compelling, but there's just less here. It's kind of crazy how little was done here. Again, I'm not a lore head, but like there was, it's just not great. Like, what is a doomed universe? What does that even mean? The story either needed to pick to focus on Ryoku and Vina and like how they affect Sirius and Orion, or just focus on Sirius and Orion. I would have been fine with Ryoku and Vina being more side characters because then like Sirius and Orion would have reflected one of them, either the mentor or the mentee they would reflect each other. So DE actually had their work kind of cut in half in that way, where they didn't have to fully explain one set, but they did have to or they didn't have to fully explain both sets, but they did have to fully explain one of them, whether it was the brothers or the two mentors, and they didn't either. They didn't do it either one. That's a problem. So like all I know is that like they're like these mercenaries or combats from a doomed universe. I don't know why they're proto frames. I'm sure that part probably is in the lore. They're not as fleshy because they have corpus augmentation, which is like the coolest shit of all time. Why is this not expanded on? Like imagine if we could have revisited in the same way that we revisited like doomed Fortuna at like post Narmer. Like why can't we stick like a messed up like cyberpunk world being corrupted? I know that's kind of like lame and samey nowadays, but like what does this doomed future actually look like? Why can't we see like a corpus cyberpunk aesthetic where like the corpus actually win or something like that? I don't know. Whatever. Why is the Stalker the only one that can save the doomed universe? Why don't we ever see the doomed universe? How are they traveling through time? What's going on? Their beef is like getting to Stalker, and like I think the indifference is like trying to make Stalker choose a kid. These two seem to represent like pride and wrath, which is like their strength and their flaw at the same time, which is interesting. So much more needed to be done here, and it would have gone a really long way. Like Vina just feels like blood. He like Ryoku talks like a Naruto character, which is I think it's charming and funny for both of them, but like there's zero backbone to it, which to me, for a lot of players, I'm sure is like really needed to avoid that annoying feeling. That makes them sound like, I don't know, like a high res game voice lines. It's rough. I do love the voice acting though; it is quality, so that at least is really nice. Next, railjacking it with no meat and no direction. Not even going to cover Steel Path Railjack here because it's basically pretty sad. It kind of felt like we were playtesters, and that's not great because we're players, we're not playtesters. I'm not getting compensated to deal with bugs, so whatever. Ultimately, I think Steel Path Railjack will get added at some point, and we'll get like some pretty cool additions. I thought this would be a larger expansion of Railjack, but it's just kind of 2 missions that don't take place in your own Railjack, which is fine. That's probably good for some players who don't want to farm it. But they're hard cut into a Railjack segment and then non-Railjack segment. And there's basically zero thought, right? You just need a decent pilot and someone like with on-forward artillery. My favorite part about Railjack personally, and there's still some of this here, is that like Railjack can't optimally be done by one person usually. Usually you want someone on guns, someone on artillery, and someone on the pilot seat. And maybe a 4th person doing like off-board shit. But here it is kind of like that, but not in the same degree. Like I love the on-crew, away crew. Like I think that stuff's super cool. And here you're just all locked in this Railjack, and that kind of stinks. There's also this weird little segment where I think you're either in a Corpus Ram sled or an Oro Worm, and you hover your cursor over like project. I don't know what that was. That sucked. That shit's got to get cut out like ASAP. I don't know. I don't know. That feels like no comment. Actually, I'll stop talking. It concludes on a segment aboard the opposition's capital ship, which had some new enemies, the Hidden Signa, which was super cool. The setting is really unique. I think the capital ships look great. Very, very happy with those. You have the boss fight that I think has some potential, but just kind of feels like ass in my opinion. I haven't really slowed down to actually determine what the bosses really do. I know Vina has some cool effects. I think Ash can like CC you pretty hard, which is interesting. But like, I don't know. Again, I don't want to comment too hard on this or flame too hard. This is like one of my biggest passion points. In the same way that the PROTOFRAMES are not really big passion points of mine. This is a big passion point. I just want Warframe to be a more engaging, somewhat more difficult game. I don't know. Like having like Ryoku have a mechanic where he marks one of your teammates for death, and if you don't find him in time or kill the right clone in time, your teammate dies. Dying in Warframe already doesn't mean anything, so why don't we? Whatever. I'm just annoyed. Lord. Anyway, I would have liked something more cool here, and like seeing that we time and time again get kind of disappointing mechanics, because we can have mechanics outside of health bars. Like we have this little mag coil thing where you throw like the little canisters onto it. That's kind of neat. But it's just like it takes time. Whatever. I don't want to complain too hard about that. That'll be a later video. Ultimately, it's still a content island problem. It still is. The missions aren't that bad, and they're aided by having 2 variants, which keeps it a little bit more refreshing than I would expect, honestly. Some unique rewards, and especially the shop in the Railjack mission bails it out from being like a huge complaint point for me. I don't mind doing the content. The runs are like 8 to 10 minutes, and I have a pretty good time. And I can go spend a decent amount of currency getting cool posters, Signas, Ephemeras, all that stuff, Arcanes. I'm happy with it. Just like a big upper caps reminder is that content islands will always be one of the biggest problems DE ever faces if they keep taking this approach. This update is by no means the worst offender, but the offense is still going to be a problem forever if it's never addressed. Also, we got to do something with the RNG too. I got like 5. Again, it was also bugged, by the way. I think at the start, so maybe I was a victim of a bug. But like, I got like 5 Sirius and Orion blueprints in a row, so that was a problem. Again, the farm for Sirius and Orion really was not that bad because you got the blueprint from a quest, which is good. That's usually like a big upfront cost that you have to pay. Just like we have to like create some sort of like pity exchange where we can exchange our duplicates for other stuff, because that's just way too frustrating. And again, I feel like this kind of pity exchange doesn't exist because DE needs us to play a certain amount of their content, and that's like further exacerbates the content island problem, and it's just frustrating. It's just very, very frustrating. Hopefully, again, if you guys have like comments, please leave something. This was definitely one of the more, I definitely feel pretty negative about the PROTOFRAMES, but here I have some mixed opinions. But where I have no mixed opinions is the quest quality. I did not like this quest at all. The baby is cute. Yes, I love Uncle Umbra. I think the theme actually of fatherhood was very strong. I don't think it was executed particularly well. Am I a lore head? No. Am I like a storyteller by trade? No. But like I just didn't like playing this quest. It felt so bad to play. And maybe because I think about quest and lore less and I think more with my hands and playing the game mode and playing the game itself, maybe that's why I had such a negative experience. Maybe if I focused more on the themes, I would have been more engaged, but I wasn't. I couldn't have been. This quest felt like such a speed run with very few moments to actually absorb anything. Call me a bum, call me whatever, like, I don't care. I was able to absorb so little of what happened here. We stop our kids from fighting, chase them around, stop at Hun Hao's for every like 2 minutes. Hun Hao sacrifices himself with a plot device and gives himself space dementia, and the brothers aren't fighting each other. I do think that Pontus Tower is a cool aesthetic, though. Like, I'm going to be very real with you guys, and this might sound like engagement bait. I felt the most alive in this quest during the cooking minigame. That shit was fun, and they should make that a real game mode where you have to defend one player who's cooking, and like you have to memorize recipes, and the more recipes you can memorize, dude, cooking defense, bakery defense, get me on that shit ASAP. Anyways, yeah, the babies are cute. There's definitely like heartstrings to be pulled here. I'm not gonna say the quest was bad per se. I just really didn't like it. Where the quest succeeded was like cutscenes, cosmetic pieces of gameplay. Got jump scared by that goddamn ukulele minigame. What is the guitar called in this game again? Shoot. Oh, Shawzen. I got jump scared by the Shawzen. That was awful. That poor kid had to listen to my shitty guitar playing. But like the cosmetic piece in the cutscenes, they're supposed to be little treats after our main meal of gameplay. And the main meal of gameplay was like we were like trying to lose weight. It was bad. It's just not present here, right? The feeling of like emotional attachment to either of these brothers is basically impossible because neither of them are real characters. They're not characters in their own quest. And is it their own quest? That's actually a great question to ask. I would say this is still more of a stalker quest, and that's okay. But like, if we're doing the theme of fatherhood, that also involves children, not just the father. The reason fatherhood is a good trope to talk about is because we're talking about kids too. We can't really reflect on Vina or Ryoku, which like we normally would be able to, because you know they would be kind of like the stand-in fathers at that point, or mothers. But they're not real characters either, so we don't know what to do, right? I don't know what to do. Call me a chud. Maybe like there's actually hidden lore everywhere, and I need to like learn like a cipher to determine it. But I don't know. We just know the stalker loves his damn kids. That's dope. Stalker's cool. He goes and grabs a plot device, and Hun Hao uses it to blow himself up, make him forget everything, and create a little home for them to stop the fighting. How does any of that work? I don't know. And I don't question Warframe's lore. I know it's a bunch of bullshit at the end of the day, but this was so like immersion breaking. This was an amount of hullabaloo that was genuinely immersion breaking for me, and I normally give Warframe the pass every single time. Like we're playing the game for like 5-10 minutes, then back to Hun Hao. Then 5-10 minutes, then back to Hun Hao. And that's just not really acceptable for a 40-minute quest that similar to Jade Shadows was supposed to have an emotional priority. Did not take that. Did not take that at all. And again, this quest kind of felt like it was supposed to be a payoff or a conclusion, but there was never a real setup. Jade Shadows as a quest was amazing, but it did not create this, in my opinion, as far as I'm concerned. Like it was not the setup for this. This feels like it was 3 quests worth of setup, not 1. There was too much going on, simply put, and that wraps it up. So, you know, I really did feel like this update left me feeling pretty disappointed, especially in the story. And like, you know, I'm a Warframe content creator. I'm a Warframe veteran. I've been playing this game for more than 10 years. I play a lot of Warframe, and therefore, every time there's an update, I feel first of all, I rely on that update a lot more than the average player, because I need something to do. I'm making my own fun at this game at most points, and so when there's new content, I got to get right on it. And now that I'm a content creator, which is, I've been doing this for about a year and a little bit of change, I feel like I have to kind of let my opinion be known in that regard. And so yeah, I don't mean to be negative. There's praise to be given in this update, but as someone who has in my brain this massive, beautiful picture of what Warframe could be, like I see multiplayer focused gameplay, you know, higher level mechanic stuff, real like tactical game, you know, more tactical gameplay. Like, I see like raid adjacent content, teamwork, all this stuff. And every time there's an update, that and better Warframe designs too. My bad. And every time I see an update that doesn't fulfill that vision, I do feel very disappointed. And I'm not saying that DE has to make the game that I want, because that's not. I'm not a developer. I don't do shit. I just sit in front of a camera like a dumbass. But every time that there is a Warframe update where it's like, oh, we're not anywhere close to what I think this game is capable of. We're not anywhere close to that. I do feel a little bit of disappointment. And not only was this, far away from what I think is possible, it was kind of far away from a lot of good things. And that left me with some problems. Hopefully, around TennoCon, something new gets kicked up. There's maybe a echoes or revisit to this. I think there's a lot of good stuff here. Just a lot of the execution fell short. Again, it's DE burning their hand on the stove of Audacity again. But Audacity is good. That's how DE has made it. That's how Warframe has been alive this long, right? Is all sorts of new things. And so I think in terms of solutions, I mean, DE needs to De's next update needs to be a massive return to the basics, I think. Maybe like a rework, like they have been doing great. New frame that's simple but fun to play, well designed, like Uriel. Maybe not as strong, but definitely Uriel's design is very tight and very good. And maybe just making a really good game mode or two. Void Cascade is one of their biggest returns on investment ever, I feel like. It's a really good game mode, and so they have a lot to learn from their good game modes, and I think a good game mode that could be used as a component in multiplayer content in the future, that's what I would do if I was DE, probably. But I mean, they have so much on their plate, I'm sure. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Again, bit of a yap sesh, but whatever. I'm not sure what the next video is going to be. But just know I love you guys lots. Thank you guys for your patience. Thank you guys if you made it this far, especially. And I will catch you on the flip. Much love. Have a great, lovely day or night or whatever. And I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.